Welcome to the Celebrating Women podcast, co-hosted by Mandee Montana and Ashley Fisher, a podcast that celebrates women, their issues, their thoughts, their lives, conversations that celebrate their gifts, their talents, their courage. It's the Celebrating Women podcast. Presented by Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler, Texas. Well, love is in the air. I'm Mandee Montana here with Sarah from Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler, and Valentine's Day is on the way. I would imagine you guys are doing something special for Valentine's Day, yes?
We are. Yes, we're doing a really good gift card promotion for Valentine's. Mm-hmm. With the purchase of any of our spa packages, you do get a free massage or facial gift card.
Oh, fun. So come in, treat yourself, or maybe treat somebody special in your life to that spa package, and then you'll turn around and be able to feel the love too.
Exactly.
Are you doing anything else? I know sometimes you do something special for the month, like a member appreciation and things like that. Are you doing anything else for February?
We are. So for the entire month of February, for any couples that signs up, we're giving away a free couples massage, and that's valued at $269.80.
Wow. Okay. So let me get this right. So if a couple comes in, they both become members of Hand & Stone, which means they get all of those amazing benefits. They get a free couples massage?
Yes.
OMG. Now that sounds like a great deal.
It is amazing.
So why don't you just kind of expand on how awesome it is to be a member as well while we're sharing the love?
So with our membership, it's only $69.95 a month, and then that does prepay one massage or facial each month for you. You get tons of member benefits like receiving any gift cards at member pricing and 10% off of any spa retail that we have. You also do take advantage of the member appreciation. So this month, we are doing $10 off of Himalayan CBD with a foot treatment. Ooh. And that's a great day.
Okay, I'm booking today.
Yes. That's a great way to enjoy a whole package.
Absolutely. Well, Sarah, you know I love Hand & Stone so much. So where can we find you?
So we are located in the Village at Cumberland Shopping Center. We're just behind Cava's or across from Five Below. And that's just South Broadway, Tyler.
And if someone wants to book today, can they book online?
They can. If you go to handandstonetyler.com, you can book through the website, or we even have a mobile app, just Hand & Stone.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming in. And I love visiting with you, especially when we're sharing the love in February.
Exactly.
Welcome back to the Celebrating Women podcast. I am Ashley Fisher.
I'm Mandee Montana, and we have a special guest. She's our first
return
guest.
Yay!
I'm the first.
You're the first.
Yes. Carleen is back, and
Hello.
We have an update, and I'm so excited for this update. So the last time you were here, you were telling us about your program.
Yes.
And that you were preparing for launch. And I feel like launch is like imminent now.
It is.
Tell us about it.
Listen to that.
It is. February 14th.
Yay.
Launch is actually my word for the year. One of them. I have two words. I chose two. I couldn't pick between the two, and I actually am having them put on gold bracelets.
Beautiful. So launch, and then what's the other one?
Purpose. To every day look at that purpose and remember, is what I'm doing getting me closer to my purpose or not?
I love that.
Is it in line with my purpose?
I love, because I know when we first talked, you had kind of this is, I think, my launch date, and that date has come and gone, but
Blew right past that.
That's okay, though, because what we talked about, for those that haven't, you need to go back and listen to Carleen's episode. I forget what number it is, but
I
it's
think
earlier
I can put the link
on.
in show notes to the previous one. Yes.
So Carleen is your girl if you have experienced or are experiencing a divorce, and she has developed a course.
Yes.
Okay. To help women navigate this, which I think is so beautiful, and it's such a need that is often not met. And you're launching on Valentine's Day.
I am. That's very intentional.
I love that.
Valentine's Day is hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think even for married people.
Yes.
I mean, the
It can be,
expectations
without a
around
doubt.
it. Yeah.
Expectations. I mean, what is
that?
it with that word today?
Well, and two, you see, it looks like everybody else is happy and in love and fulfilled, and everyone you know is in a great relationship, and they're getting roses and they're getting jewelry and they're going on cool dates and fun trips, and you're sitting at home with your cat or your dog or, you know, a box of tissue, and it feels like you're completely alone.
With the chocolate you bought for yourself at the Walmart
Yes.
checkout.
Yes, it is a very difficult day. And I actually one year did a girls' Valentine night in, and it was amazing. And all of these women had some sort of broken relationships, and everybody, and these beautiful, successful, amazing women, everybody's feeling the same. Like, gosh, what is wrong with me? I'm so broken. Valentine's Day sucks. And we ended up making it into a really beautiful bonding. And you realize you're not alone.
Yeah.
And that was just beautiful. That's a
So
little side note.
tell us, Valentine's Day, what happens Valentine's Day?
Valentine's Day will be the day that you can actually go online and get involved in the course. It's almost built out on the website. It's done, except for a few videos, which have been... Videos and tech have been the biggest hang up, but I am pushing through that regardless. It may be glitchy, it may not be perfect, but I will be there for you. So yes, you can see the video content, you can download the workbook content, because that's really the key, is the guided journaling aspect of it. That will all be there with tons of encouragement and tools. And I'm working on the community piece as well, which may end up just being a Facebook group for now. It may be from within the course platform. That's the figure-outable thing that's happening right now.
Everything is figure-outable.
Everything is. We love Marie Forleo for that, don't we?
We do.
Yes, we do. So I love, the timing of all of this. So on a previous episode, Ashley and I were just talking about self-awareness, and you talking about your guided journal. I feel like that's a lot of what it helps develop, right? Is some self-awareness of like your great traits, and maybe also where we have room to grow.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And so often we want a magic pill. We want to listen to a Mel Robbins podcast and be fine, or we want to dig into a Bible study and be fine. And that's really not how it works. We have to do some work. How many things do you listen to and think, wow, that is life-changing? And then you apply maybe 10% of it. Maybe you get busy with your life and you don't. So this forces people to sit down and do the actual work that it takes to get to healing. Because hearing things alone just doesn't do it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. They say time heals all wounds, and it really doesn't. Sometimes it just creates scar tissue. It's medicine, it's surgery, it's treatment that heals the wounds.
Dang, girl.
I almost want you to say that again.
Yeah, say that again.
Oh gosh, how did I say that? But it isn't time that heals wounds. And there's a Rose Kennedy quote about it that I have written down that I can't remember it right now. But the gist of it is, time just creates scar tissue. It's treatment that heals wounds.
See, and this is what we were talking about, like wounds that you either, if you slap a Band-Aid on a deep wound, it's just going to fester, get infected, create scar tissue. We just got through saying this earlier. So crazy. But when you go and you treat the wound from the inside out, that is when actual healing happens.
That's right. That's right.
Are you just freaking out right now?
So for context, I know you're a context girl. Yeah. For context, Ashley and I are batching some episodes. So today happens to be January 18th, and we've recorded 3 episodes. So as they will air, if you've been listening along, you're already aware of this. We talked about self-awareness, and then we had a beautiful guest, Heather Jennings, that shared her testimony of being a child of divorce and a really difficult situations there. Multiple remarriages on one side and some challenges on the other side as well. And then going through a very challenging and controlling marriage that she had to extricate herself from. She was in and out a couple of times before she's found redemption with her incredible husband, Brandon, now. She's got 4 little girls. And so her story is a heavy one, but a really beautiful one, because she comes through the other side of it. And it's just so beautiful. And so it's been a day of Ashley and I having lots of heartfelt conversations. And it's been beautiful throughout the entire podcast, but especially today, that God's he just lines it up.
Yeah, because we could not, literally, we're not smart enough to line this up. Because when we walked up here this morning, it was 8 o'clock.
We didn't have a plan.
We were like, what do you want to talk about? We need an episode of just her and I. What do we, and within minutes, this thing just pops up. And we're like, let's put our headphones on. Let's talk about it. And then Heather comes in. And really, honestly, Emily's episode before that is a setup for some of this too.
Yeah.
So it's just beautiful. I love it. I just love that for us.
But also grateful that like we're coming full circle with you too, because you were one of the first women that believed in us and joined us as a guest early on in our first couple of months. And you've been so supportive and kind to continue to listen and offer feedback and love and support, encouragement. And so I've been anxiously awaiting for women to have an opportunity to explore your course. But I also know that the timing is perfect, that it wasn't meant to happen until February 14th.
I have to believe that. I have to believe that.
Yeah.
And I'm done kicking myself for it.
Don't.
Life gets in the way and things happen. But I do believe, I've heard it for so many years, God's timing is perfect. And I do believe that even when we stumble or we don't get something done, He still works it together and makes that timing perfect.
Yeah. I mean, we were planning, this is a Thursday, we had planned 2 other guests to come in on Tuesday. And of course, he decided to have winter weather in East Texas that we weren't prepared
That's true.
for.
We had 2 totally different guests coming in.
Yep, we did. And we look forward to having them in the future.
Yeah.
But the timing didn't play out where they could come in this week and probably not even for a few more.
Yeah.
So but the timing of this, I was like, I was
Meant to
supposed to
be.
have coffee with Carleen this morning.
Meant
I
to
think
be.
she's available. And then she said, guess what? I'm launching my course. I was like, this is perfect.
Perfect. Oh,
Perfect
that's
timing.
awesome.
I love it.
I'm so proud of you. Can I just tell you, I'm just so proud of you. Like, it's inspiring to me to sit down months ago and to see this passion and this dream and this thing that you're working on, and to see you now, like it's almost done and it's going to launch. Like, I'm so proud, and I'm just so excited for you because, and I'm excited for anybody that decides to make that dive, because I just know they're going to be so blessed by it.
Well, thank you. I hope so. Again, Lord willing, it's in His hands.
Yeah.
I just want to be helpful.
You
Yeah.
are
In the process.
helpful. So, okay, remind us the website.
lifeafterdivorcecourse.com.
Okay. And brief synopsis, because I know you went into it in depth with us the first time, but like, who do you think this is best for? Who's the woman you're trying most to help?
Anyone who has been through a divorce, if it's recent or in the past. I have friends that have been through them and are still excited about this because they know there are areas that life gets in the way. We get busy, or we decide we're going to be fine, or we don't want to face some of the things. We don't want to face our anger, because we can say, my anger was justified. I was cheated on, or I was abused, or whatever we want to place, or he was unavailable to me emotionally, whatever the reasons. There's a million reasons. We fought too much. We tend to feel like, well, I'm out of that situation. I'm fine. Time has passed. I'm fine. I've got a new relationship. I'm fine. And often we haven't, and this is to speak to everyone, but often we really haven't dug into the grief, the loss.
Yeah.
As I talk to women who the divorce was their idea, and so they have this guilt they're dealing with, and they also have this expectation, back to your word, expectation. Well, I should be fine because this is what I wanted.
Right.
So they grieve on the inside, and they don't even necessarily understand that it's grief.
Yeah.
But grief is very real. Grief is not only for death, grief is for divorce, because divorce is a death. It is the death of vows. It is the death of a dream. It is the death of an entire lifestyle, and it is the death of the relationship that you decided was going to be the most important one that you had on this earth. And so often we don't grieve. So anyone who's in process of a divorce, also, anyone who's suffered a big relational loss, it doesn't even have to be divorce. It could be a long-term relational breakup, but you loved that person. Really, it's helping you kind of process the relationship and look at what was it that went wrong? What is it that I'm feeling? What are the things that I need to deal with?
Yeah.
You may have a woman who does not necessarily need to deal with anger. But her depression, her sadness, her anxiety, usually we have to deal with all those things, and you're in different stages of it at any given time. And so the process really deals with all of those aspects of the grief process in this program. So some areas may be very relevant to you right now and others not. And then you may come back around to it in 3 weeks and go, wow, I wasn't in touch with this anger part when I went through that chapter. But now I'm angry. I am angry. I'm angry at him. I'm angry at God. I'm angry at myself.
Yeah.
I'm angry at my mother-in-law. I'm angry at my attorney.
Yeah.
I am angry at my boss because he's triggering me and he sounds just like my ex-husband. Whatever. It's a cycle. It was explained to me like a spiral. If you think about a spiral starting at this tiny little core and you go in circles around this grief cycle, and the circles get bigger and bigger as you get away from that ground zero. And you think you can go through a cycle of, gosh, I haven't felt angry in a year. I must be past that. And then something happens, or you just wake up one morning and you're angry and you're like, what? Because it's a process. And having a program that you can go through it once, but then go revisit, come back through it, see how your answers have changed, see how far you've come. I just went through an old journal from when I went through my most painful divorce, and I reread some of the things that I had written. And I reread the letter I had written to my ex, which is in exercise 1 of this course, because I think it's vital that you do it. And it was amazing to me. There are things I had forgotten. I had forgotten that I felt them. I had forgotten what I had written and where I was.
Yeah.
And it was very heartwarming. And, it was a big piece in tracing God's hand of faithfulness, because I didn't even remember that I felt that way, because I truly was able to lay that pain down. I was able to lay that resentment and that anger, all those things. I was able to lay them down because I brought them to light.
See, and we talked about this with, I can't remember her name.
That's okay. Give me context, and I bet I can remember it.
Your good friend, was it Lindsay, the counselor?
Yeah, Lindsay.
So we talked about this idea, we hear a lot about acceptance. And, really, if you think about it, I would think you can't fully move on to thriving relationships if you haven't accepted and moved past kind of what was in the past. But we talked about how you can't accept something you have not grieved. And I think this idea of kind of being handheld and shown how to walk through that process it's such a daunting thing when you think about doing that by yourself. But I think having your sweet face across the screen, like y'all, you can't see her, but her smile and her eyes, you're going to be like, I'll do whatever she wants. Like,
stop it some more. Thank you for those kind words.
I think that I'm so thankful that women are going to have this loving person that has been down this road, help walk them through something that's really so necessary and vital to their healing, their thriving, whether they get married again, but just doesn't really is kind of an aside, but because it is such a massive death that needs to be grieved on all the levels. So I'm just so thankful they're going to have you.
Well, thank you. I hope to meet all of them that need me. I really do. And, I love that you mentioned a second marriage. The thing that happens with divorces, and statistics will tell you that once you've been divorced, most second marriages have a higher likelihood of ending in divorce than that 50% on the first marriages. And I think it's so often because the work isn't done. You think, I'm with the wrong person.
Yeah.
And I find the right person, it's all going to be great. And you're in that honeymoon stage, everything is wonderful. And then you wake up 2 years in, and you're like, you're just like he was. You're just like my ex.
Wherever you go, there you are.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And we tend to seek out relationships that are either what we think we need or that are familiar. And so when we haven't dealt with the dysfunction and we haven't understood, why did that one fail?
Yeah.
What is it that I could have done? And sometimes you come to the end of yourself and you realize, okay, I did everything I could do. Or here is what I could have done that I didn't. How do I develop that skill set? But if you don't heal it, you are almost destined to repeat it. Just almost destined to repeat it. And I think I am not a licensed professional, but I think most of them would agree with me, and they would probably give you some way better stats than I could.
Yeah.
But that's so important. And not only for doing the work for a second marriage, but doing the work for all of your relationships.
Right.
your children will remind you of your ex, and you'll bite their head off some days for something that is maybe not warranted. But when you can get a hold of that and realize, okay, this is what I'm going through and this is the work I need to do, you're obviously not going to be perfect, but it will improve all of your relationships and your relationship with yourself. We dig into a lot of things that is going to help you improve your relationship with yourself.
There's that self-awareness.
I mean, like we're laughing because it's like, okay, like message received. Oh, Lord, thank you.
And we all have room to grow there for sure.
Without a doubt.
But I do think it's easy to go through life lacking it, to have blinders on. You know, we used the analogy on a previous episode that we recorded this morning about like, I was recently traveling in the airport. There's a lot of people who lack a lot of physical, behavioral self-awareness in an airport.
One of my pet peeves.
Right? They'll just stop. They'll be in the middle of the walkway and they'll just stop and they'll like unload their luggage looking for something. And clearly in that moment, they need something and they're in a moment of need. And we can have compassion for them and walk around them. But it's also frustrating in the moment because they also could have moved to the wall or gone out of the walkway to do those things if they maybe had greater self-awareness.
Yes.
So that was kind of an example that we used that's sort of silly and obvious. But, you know, Ashley looked it up and I think she found that there are 4 different types of self-awareness and one of them is emotional. And I think that's probably where most of us could do a lot of work. It's having some awareness of our emotions and maybe... And also like how we're mirroring people. You know, sometimes when we get frustrated, it's really something that's within ourselves. That's, you know.
Doesn't that just make you so mad?
It does, but it also makes me curious.
Yes.
When something frustrates me or upsets me, whether it's my spouse or a friend or just life, somebody in the drive-through lane, whatever.
Not pulling up fast enough.
Yeah. I try to be curious about it after the initial frustration to go, okay, what is this? What is this trying to teach me? And I love that that's such a core piece of your course because I think there's always lessons.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
In everything that we go through. And, you know, back to the analogy of that time doesn't heal wounds, that treatment does. The awareness piece is so often a protective measure. So often we don't want to be aware because, especially when we're hurting, we don't want to necessarily be aware because then there's responsibility in that.
Well, and we certainly, when we're hurting, we certainly don't want to be told it was something that part of it was something that we did. Like, gosh, that sounds terrible.
Right. Accepting what we want to call blame is really painful.
Yeah.
And it's so, it feels like more salve to your heart to blame your ex, to blame external factors. But what's really, it doesn't heal. It doesn't heal anything. It just keeps all those things running around in your head.
And it delays real healing.
It delays real healing because a lot of times we don't know where that comes from. So many of the things that we deal with, whether we're emotionally healthy, emotionally unhealthy, I hate to say it, but you go back to your childhood. There are things that happen to us in our childhood, and they're just ways that we're wired. And if we don't look into, did I see this modeled for me before? How was conflict handled in my household when I was a child? Where did this come from in me? Why is this such a trigger for me? Like
I'm sorry. Were you here earlier with like a glass to the wall? This is just wild. Okay, I'm sorry.
But that's where the journaling comes in and the awareness piece. It's not easy to do, but wow, it's the treatment. It's actually the salve. And what's so interesting in this process, I've done a lot of research on in trying to explain why the journaling helped me so much and why I feel like that's foundational to this, and not just writing your day in your journal. That's wonderful for a lot of things. I think the things that really helped me were, there were certain parts of journaling that helped me, and so I've tried to compile all of those. But there's so in trying to help my students or the people that want to participate in the program understand and really get the value of why the journaling piece is so important and why you don't just breeze through it and answer the questions. This is not a test.
Yeah.
It's not a test that you're taking that you've got to hurry. I just got to write something in the blank and move on. It's stop and think it through and meditate on it. The science behind that is astounding. And I don't know if we went into that the first time I was here.
I honestly don't remember. I haven't revisited that episode in a minute.
Well, I'll make it quick just in case I'm repeating myself. But there's something very interesting that when you have a feeling or a thought that's just rolling around in your head, and you may or may not understand the order of it, or it may or may not make sense. It may be very clear, it may not. But when you just keep it inside, it stays in there, and it stays in the emotional part of your brain. Speaking a word, and I'm sure Lindsay could help give you the science behind that. Speaking it out helps you put it into a better, proper place. But the science of journaling, actually writing it down, is even more effective. And what it does then is it takes it out of your emotional brain and it actually puts it into your logical brain, which allows you to kind of step back and detach slightly from it so that you can see it more clearly. You have a better sense of what is that. And now I see it as a logical thing. So now I have a strategy. I can attack it. I know where to put it. I know what to do with it. I know how to heal from it. And I know how to handle it better next time. And it's an amazing thing in your brain that instead of bouncing around like popcorn in a popcorn machine, all of a sudden it puts it in order. And it also gives you that sense of empowerment of now I am in control of it. It is no longer in control of me.
Yeah.
And that's the brilliance of it. And what I'm here to do is just help people figure out what are all those balls bouncing around on the one side of your brain that we need to go put into the other side of your brain so that you can heal from them, move on, you take control over them, and then you have the tools that you need to step into a more fulfilling life instead of being stuck.
So as we're sitting here, something that just came like glaring at me was this thought: when you have a deep wound, like a gash in your arm or your leg, what's the first thing a doctor is going to want you to do?
Clean it out.
Clean it out.
Yep.
If you have a deep wound and you stitch it up,
Creates more problems.
it creates more problems. It creates infection that can spread to the rest of your body. If you have a deep wound and you slap a Band-Aid on it, you're just going to be bleeding out all over everyone and everything in your life. But if you have a wound and you clean it out and then you close it up,
Yeah.
It allows the white blood cells to do their thing
Isn't that
instead of getting in
amazing?
their way.
yeah. So I feel like you are like, I know you're not a doctor, but Dr. Carleen's coming in. We're going to help clean out these
She looks
wounds.
like a doctor today.
She looks
Very
fabulous.
sophisticated today. I mean, you always do, but especially today. Well, thank you. Especially.
Yeah.
I love the way that you described that because I've talked about various aspects of journaling on different episodes with Ashley before. It's really helped me too. And the talk therapists that I've been to have also encouraged journaling. So I really believe that those things work hand in hand,
Without a
like
doubt.
you're saying. Sometimes you need to say it out loud, but also sometimes it's hard, even when you feel like you're in a safe place, somebody that you trust implicitly that you could say anything to and is not going anywhere to be repeated. Sometimes it's still hard to verbalize things that you could write down and then burn it if you want to.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've burned journal pages before,
Yeah.
and it was the most healing thing that I did because it was a past relationship that was difficult that I had written about. And at the time, it was helping me process my emotions. But then I realized I was carrying this around with me for years. And I didn't want that piece of my life to resonate with me anymore. And I had revisited it. I had reread it. And that wasn't a healing experience for me. So I cut those pages out and I burned them. And I felt so much lighter after doing it. It was the best exercise I think I've ever done for helping to heal that relationship.
I love that. I love
So
it.
maybe sometimes you want to burn the guidebook after. I don't know.
Yes, and you know, it's so funny. So I just recorded an encouragement video where I say that, you know, please be honest because you can burn this when you're done. You really can. And I don't always recommend it, but sometimes I do because the ritual of that and the visual that's burned in your brain is helping you to
Release.
literally release that out of your life completely. And those things that we do really make a difference.
Yeah.
It changes the situation in your brain, because that was to you symbolic of still carrying around this pain, this relationship. It's not that it didn't happen, because you're better for it. You're stronger now after it, but that you've fully been able to release
The weight,
the hold, the pain, the parts that felt tied to that you're releasing it, and it's freedom and healing. And that's beautiful.
it was. I just love so much that that's like the core of your course. And also, just because I've been friends with you for so long, I love that people get to see your lovely face on video, because you are like, your sincerity and your authenticity is obviously going to come through in those videos. And that's such an important piece too, I think, for people to feel validated by your testimony and your story that you've woven into the course as well.
Well, you're sweet. Thank you. But I do believe that what you said, this is so true. You don't want to go to a personal trainer who smokes and is overweight and you see eating cheeseburgers. You don't want to go to a hairdresser that's wearing a hot mess mop on top of their head. We want someone to lead us through it that has been there. And not to say that your pastor can't be an amazing help, not to say that your therapist can't be an amazing help. I do not recommend this as a replacement for either of those things. It is a supplement. It is an additional thing that you can be in control of. And regardless of when your next therapy appointment is, this is something that you can dig into yourself. But it is something that allows you to go deeper, release more into the world, and do it in a way that is very personal to you. You know, we all heal differently. There are different things that are going to resonate with different people. And so it offers a way for people to very much personalize that journey for themselves.
I have a logical question, because I'm a little bit of a course junkie. I've taken a few courses, some online, some in person. Is this a lifetime access course? Is this something people can come back to and revisit? Or did you put a time limit on them to force them to go through it and finish it? Either way, I see the value in both.
I do too. And for this in particular, for me, it is a ministry, not a money-making opportunity. It is lifetime access.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I will ever run out of a market. Sadly,
Nope.
As long as we are walking on this broken earth, there is going to be divorce. And I encourage people to come back and do the work. I've gone through my own workbook a couple of times now, just because it's interesting to see but I do want it to be lifetime access. I want there to be a lifetime community, because I additionally feel like the women that are going to meet up in community here can be helpful to each other in a multitude of ways. Number one being, like, if you're living in Indiana and I'm here in Tyler, Texas, I can share the ugly parts that might be tough that I need some community on. And I know I'm not going to see you at Church or Brookshire's, and you're not going to be judging me. You're not going to go repeat it to other people in the community. Not that that would ever happen, but it happens. We all know it.
And probably not on purpose, sometimes
on
unintentionally trying to share.
Right. Exactly. But you know that there's safety in that community. And when other women experience healing and breakthrough and release, and they can come back in now as a guide as well to love. I'm only going to be able to love on so many specific people in person at any given time. So my goal is to create more of a community of people in various stages of their healing that can be there for each other.
Yeah.
To offer inspiration. Okay, you made it through exactly what I'm going through. So a year down the road, I can expect that this part and this part will be easier. So yes, to answer, long answer to your question is, it is lifetime access
I love that.
for the purposes of we need lifetime healing.
Yes.
It's not a one and done. We're not ever, I believe, fully healed until the day that the Lord takes us home.
Yeah. And to your earlier point, sometimes you do need to revisit things because you that things pop up later. The anger could come up at a different time, or maybe somebody that you newly encountered reminds you of your ex and it's triggering and you're like, wait a minute, let's go do some work.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I very much like your previous guest, I was in a very controlling and toxic marriage at one time. And it's been 20 years since that divorce happened. But I can tell you over the course of time, in a dating relationship, in work boss relationships, if there's some sort of controlling behavior that reminds me of that, it can trigger. And I can react in a way that is maybe not the best way that I should react, or I'm just going to like cut this person off or whatever, that I realize, whew, I got to revisit that part.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lifetime journey of healing. And my goal that I've always told myself is live as though it never happened. Not to have someone new in my life or someone else on the periphery pay for the sins of someone else. Because you may not be a controlling, awful human, but you're passionate about a project and you're a type A personality and you're like, this is what we're going to do and here's how we're going to do it. And I'm on the inside going, you're not the boss of me. And then I have to
will not be controlled.
go look in the mirror and go, that actually was my boss. So I'm actually going to have to do that. And it does not serve me to hate this person or be mad at this person or tell this person to go jump in the lake or whatever. Or to react out of from a place of, I'm not going to be that frightened little flower ever again. No one's ever, I can't tell you how many times, nobody's ever going to treat me that way again. Well, there's some healthy aspects to knowing that I'm going to learn how to set my boundaries and I'm not going to have this in my life anymore. But you can take that too far, and then that's also not healthy.
That's so good, Carleen. That's like a cheat code for life, I feel like, because so many of us develop rule books off of our trauma, and it does us no favors.
It doesn't, because you are actually leaving the control of yourself in that person's hands. They are still controlling you. If you live as though it happened to me. We want to live, yes, we want to take mentality. The lesson. But how would the Carleen before that happened respond in love to another human being who did that? That's what you want to be mindful of. So how do I become stronger and put a boundary in place, but still stay very true to the person that I am when I'm healthy and the person that God wants me to be?
Yeah.
So would the person that God wants me to be snap that person's head off just because they might exhibit a behavior that my ex did?
Okay, listen.
I know. It gets deep. It gets hard.
Honestly, I'm like, I mean, I'm not divorced, but there's a lot of stuff in that I'm going, if that's the kind of content that people can expect to get, then that's a worthy investment, I'm sure. So I kind of want you to stop, because if you have piqued anyone's interest, like you have piqued mine, I want y'all to just stop here and go. And it is lifeafterdivorcecourse.com, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's amazing.
I mean, it sounds like it would be helpful just in any relationship that you're in romantically to maybe dig in and do some self-reflection.
Without a doubt, you could absolutely do that. I would hope that it would possibly be a divorce preventative type of a situation. Yeah. Because listen, divorce is hard. It stinks. Even if you're the one who wants it, it is still something I would not wish on anyone. Right. And so if something that is in there, or something, even just the realization of, here's all the pain that comes along with divorce. Wow. Is this something I can save? Is this something I want to go
Could I do the work
through?
now first?
Right.
And maybe figure out where I'm lacking in some skills.
Yeah.
And maybe do the work myself and not point at my spouse.
Right.
But
you don't have control
or your
over
mother
them.
or your father.
Right. Yeah.
But to take inventory. And there are things that we grieve.
Yeah.
Even when we are
married.
still in a marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is definitely
we all
pointed
change.
toward divorce, but there are things that anyone could get out of this, even if they haven't been
I
divorced.
love it. Okay. Well, I'm excited to hear from you again in the future after you've had some people go through your course and that you can come back and maybe we can have some of them on to share how this is helping heal and shape their lives. But I'm just so interested in this journey for you long term. I love you so much and I'm so glad you came back to update us.
Thank you. I love you too. Thank you for having me. You're welcome. So happy to be in the room with both of you beautiful ladies.
So
lovely.
One last time, lifeafterdivorcecourse.com.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Celebrating Women podcast wants to hear from you. Email us a voice message to celebratingwomenpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear your story or the story of an incredible woman you know. Become part of the conversation on social media. Facebook.com/celebratingwomenpodcast. On Instagram, search Celebrating Women Podcast. The Celebrating Women podcast has been presented by Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler, Texas. Book your appointment today. Stop by the spa in Cumberland Shopping Center or online at handandstonetyler.com. The Celebrating Women podcast is created and hosted by Mandee Montana and Ashley Fisher. Support the show for as little as $3 per month at celebratingwomenpodcast.buzzsprout.com or visit our show notes. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to the Celebrating Women podcast.